You're listening to Mad Radio. Mad Radio. Mad Radio. Make a difference.
Quick, me lads! Hoist the rigging! Aye, Captain! Splice the mainframe! Batten down the hatches! Aye, Captain! I'm going below deck to get the show started. And now, the man who likes to sound important even when no one is listening. He's the shortest leprechaun in the kingdom, and he's earned his AA in jackassery. No, really, you should see his diploma. It's the host with the most, Brendan McCarty.
Well, thank you, Petey. Hey, welcome in, all you scallywags, you swashbucklers, landlubbers, hornswogglers, and salty dogs to the Peg Leg Podcast, a show where we delve into the lives of fellow pirates and learn a bit more about the unsung heroes among us all. Arr! This week we travel to the district office, oh yes, to speak with an individual who has their BA in Business Administration from CSUS. They have worked for the district for about 30 years, going on 30 years. They have assisted with the transition from a prior program called DSK to Colleague, and I'm sure that a lot of you have used that, and they have created the tools to help staff with the transition. Again, I've used it a few times. It's pretty simple. They have also created the Colleague Financial Files, which provide financial information to users in a way that would not otherwise be available, and I know for a fact that a lot of you have used those out there. This person also created reports to provide valuable information to users in multiple report writing softwares, to include Cognos and Croa. He has also provided training to many new and current employees, both in person and electronically, on understanding the accounting structure used by YCCD and understanding many of the fiscal processes used. He's also assisted departments with creating processes to streamline their workflow. On a personal note, he has raised 2 amazing children. He has hiked Half Dome twice, and he enjoys do-it-yourself projects around the house. We will find out more about those. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the controller of YCCD to the poop deck, Jeremy Salazar.
Hello there, Brandon. How's it going?
Hey, awesome. I finally got you in here.
Good.
I was trying to get you in during season 1, but I think there were too many things going on or something. But
I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. So, Jeremy, you've been, 30 years. That's a long time. What exactly was it that brought you to the college?
Well, initially, I just graduated from college, obviously looking for a job. My mother worked for the campus. She worked as a secretary for one of the departments, and she had worked there for 9 years or so when I had graduated, and brought home a flyer for a job position that was open at the business office, which was what I had graduated for in business.
Okay.
And I was currently at that time working as a theater manager, and had worked at the movie theater for 8 years.
Which movie theater?
At the time, it was the Festival Cinemas, so now it's the one down at the end of McHenry, which is called...
Regal.
Regal.
Yeah.
So
I remember Festival.
It was Festival back then, so I worked there for 8 years. A ton of fun. The job was great. Good people. You made next to no money, but come on, when you're going through high school, going through college, and just having fun.
Tons of perks there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a great job.
Right.
But had some business. Worked my way up from the normal jobs there into the management position over there. So I had a little history and a little background on working in management and working in with money. So the job at the business office just seemed like a good fit for me. And so funny thing is, the first time I hired for the position, the week they were doing interviews, I was going on my honeymoon.
Oh.
And so I called in, I begged them to, set aside some time other than that week for me, because I know I can't adjust my honeymoon.
Right.
and luckily they did. They set up a special time with just me that one day coming in, which I know normally doesn't happen, so I feel a little privileged that happened. but they brought me in and been working for the district in one way or the other ever since.
Yeah, you've had several roles at the college, to include, so you started at the business office.
Started at the business office, working the front desk, taking fees back when it was a whole different job. Back then, there was a lot more involved. Students were on campus way more than they are now, to coming to the business office, paying fees, picking up financial aid, doing a lot of other activities at the business office. So it was just packed there all the time. Which it's very different now. Thank goodness for everybody. Students don't have to wait in the line.
Right. There's no massive. I was going to say there's no massive lines. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked there initially, and then moved into the back office. Worked for in the accounting, in the same office, but working in the accounting area as opposed to taking the fees. And then from there, I moved over to the district office as an accountant. And so a position came up available there, and so I took that position. And then a senior accountant position came open, so I took that at the district office. And then when the business office manager position came open back on MJC, I took that position. So I was back to managing the department that I had originally worked for. And then I came over to the controller's office, and that position came open.
Wow.
So
that's
back and
cool.
forth.
That's quite that. Yeah, I guess that's quite the ping pong match between district and MJC. But certainly, you just kept going up and up and up. That's awesome. Yeah,
and it's been good, but I just say I do miss working with the students, because when you come to the district, the first time it took me about a year to get used to not having students around, because I was so used to students always being a huge part of the job in general.
Right.
And then coming back to the district, it's like, okay, where is all the activity? Where's all the noise? Where are all the students that you get to see? The reason we're here for? And it took about a year. The second time, I knew what to expect, so it was a little less, but I definitely miss the students.
If you would tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like. Did you grow up in Modesto here? Or?
Born and raised. The only time I've lived out of Modesto, other than my mom tells me we lived in Galt for a couple months when I was newborn, but I went to San Francisco State for one semester, and wasn't something I wanted to continue, so I came back to Modesto. But that's the only time. Other than that, born and raised in Modesto. Love it here. I know people say a few bad things about it, and it does have its issues, but anywhere you live, it has its issues, and I think there's a lot of good people, a lot of good culture here, even though it's not the city, but then you're not paying the city prices and anything, and they're not dealing with other stuff that the city has to deal with.
Sure. So what side of town did you grow up on?
I grew up in North Modesto, so right by Festival Cinemas. That's why I got the job there, because I could walk if I had to. But I never did, but it was right around the corner. Parents bought that house when I was 7 years old, and same house. My mom still lives there, so same house, and been there forever. One thing, part of when I was growing up, my mother divorced my father before I was born. So and then married a man when I was 4 who adopted me.
Okay.
So I get to say I was adopted, but people always, it wasn't fully adopted. I was just partially adopted. So that's a kind of an interesting, strange dynamic. And then he had 2 children from a previous marriage. So I was both an only child and a sibling, and siblings, because they were in and out of the picture. They'd come in the summertime and hang out with us, and then go back home to their mom for school. And then towards the end, high school, or I think junior high, one of them came and lived with us for a while. One of my brothers came to live with us starting in junior high, and lived with us until he moved out. And then my other brother was in and out for a while, and then lived with us through some of high school, but then moved back with his mom. So I had a very in and out dynamic. And my father was a Salazar, so I'm not really a Salazar. I was adopted into the Salazar name. So when people hear the name, they're like, "You don't look like a Salazar." I'm like, there's a reason for that.
Okay.
But ultimately, it was a good dynamic, an interesting dynamic, because I had a lot of different experiences. I had a single child and had siblings, and I was adopted, but had my mom there. And had biological parents as well, and both sides of the family. My dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family was small. It was just my mom and she had a sister, and then my grandma. That was the main core group. But my dad's side of the family was a big Mexican family, and just got together on every weekend to watch football, and all the holidays were just this huge event, and everybody making delicious food. It was playing cards together, and I still remember hanging out with the family, and it was a good mix of both sides, and it was a lot of fun. So when I tell people I'm adopted that, they don't fully understand that. And
Right.
tell people I'm Mexican. They don't understand that because although I can check that box on the applications and everything because in theory I am, but
Yeah.
and I had both sides of families. So now it was a fun childhood. It was an interesting childhood, and unfortunately, don't talk to my brothers anymore. Growing up, you don't see things the same when you're young. You don't see how people really are. You're just immersed in the situation. But then my brothers are a little bit different and kind of jerks that I didn't really see when I was a kid, but my mom did, but she kind of shielded me from it. And now that they got older, we just unfortunately don't talk which is too bad because I kind of miss having the big family.
Right.
But it was fun growing up for sure. Starting in Easter, every Sunday we would go play volleyball down at the park. My dad would get up he was an early riser, so he'd get up at 5 a.m. and go stake out our spot at the park and put up the volleyball nets, and we'd stay out there every Sunday playing volleyball and Trivial Pursuit. With, there'd be like 20 of us down there at some point in time playing every Sunday from Easter on until it got too hot.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a lot, and that's a lot of people too, which makes it that much more fun.
Yeah, it was just it was good time. So it was a lot of fun growing up. Fortunately, the family, things dwindle and change as we grow older, but it was fun growing up.
So did you go to Beyer or Davis?
Beyer,
okay.
Yep.
All right.
To Beyer a couple of years after. I think it opened like 5 or 6 years before I started going there. So it was fairly new at the time. And originally when they opened Beyer, it was all open campus, but that had closed up by the time I got there because they realized, we don't really want to just let students come and go as they feel they need to be educated. So they changed that.
Right.
But it was still all the classrooms were all open on the inside, which was a very strange dynamic to be in a classroom and still hear the other classroom going on just right over there where there was really no walls between you. It was a very interesting dynamic, and I think they've closed up a lot of that even to make it more traditional. But it was brand new, and it was the new and improved school back then. And I know it's very different now. I think there's some other ones that have taken that reign, but back then it was the place to be.
Did you play any sports or
no sports?
Musical instruments, clubs?
I was as boring a kid as you could possibly be. I was unfortunately I look back. My kids all did all that stuff growing up, and I'm like, I should have done this. And my daughter plays a musical instrument. Both kids were in tons of sports, and so I got to enjoy it at that point in time. But when I was in school, I just didn't feel the need. I was kind of lazy. I don't know what it was, but sports wasn't my thing. I enjoyed playing sports. I think it was the whole everything being forced. I think it was when you put it all together, I didn't want to do it.
Sure.
I went out with my friends and just doing it for fun. Loved playing football. Loved going out and doing games with friends, playing golf with friends, and things like that. But when it's organized, I didn't really want to do it.
I can totally understand that. I was on the cross country team because it's an individual sport.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, you're competing with yourself, really.
Right. Yeah, if you get better, you get better. If you don't, you didn't because you didn't beat your last score. Yeah, no, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. I enjoyed later on in life. I enjoyed playing like racquetball and things like that, where it's a little bit of competitive because I do like the competitiveness, but I like more the one-on-one kind of, not necessarily 100% one, just me running or me swimming, but a couple people playing against each other makes that I'm okay with. A full team, that's a little more difficult for me, I think.
What are some of your leisurely activities outside of work? Well, you talked about hiking, so you do that, obviously. What else do you do?
Yeah, right now I like to travel a little bit, but I don't get as much time to travel in the new position. It takes up a lot more time. And then when I do travel, it's usually both my kids live out of state, so I travel to go see them. Downtime, a couple of years ago, I randomly ran into a friend of mine, and he was big into bowling at the time. So he says, "Why don't you join the team?" And I'm like, "Okay, whatever, just to hang out with them." And then so about 3 years right before the pandemic, I started bowling. And then the pandemic shut everything down, and we couldn't do it for a while. And then I got back into doing it. And then we have the bowling league for MJC or for the district. I guess it's everybody at the district. So we have that bowling league, which so right now I'm doing 2 leagues, but one of them ends soon. So
and you have one hell of a curve on that ball, which is amazing.
I do have an interesting style. I don't, as I tell everybody, I don't really want anybody to record me because if I see it, it's going to make me very self-conscious about how strange it is.
Well, you've seen me bowl. That's kind of how I feel too. I just toss that dang thing down there and hope I hit the pins.
Yeah. So enjoy bowling. I've gone through a couple different things. I loved racquetball for a while. I was doing racquetball for a couple of years where I was playing 3 and 4 times a week, and that was just fun. But it takes a toll on your body, and it's a tough sport.
Oh, I bet.
But a ton of fun. But that's the kind of sport, one-on-one sports I like, and I love doing projects around the house. I always have something going on. Always, all the weekends are usually taken up doing something to the house. Right, right now I'm putting in a patio. Put in a patio in my backyard. Now I got to redo all the sprinklers because it changed the dynamics of the patio. Or the backyard. So you got to do all that, and then put in floors and do it. Just making the house look a little better is always fun. People say, "Why don't you pay someone to do that?" And I'm like, I can do it myself, and I look back on it. Once I've done it, I can look back and go, I did that.
Right.
And that's huge.
And certainly a learning thing as well. How far have you gotten into a project, or I guess I should ask, how big of a project have you gotten into? And when you got into said project, did you go, oh crap, this may have been too much for me to handle?
I'm pretty good at knowing my limits.
Oh,
and,
okay.
I've seen stuff and just said, okay, I got to hire someone to do that. But like I did all the floors in my house, and I'm like during a Christmas holiday break, we get that week off, so I just took the whole week and I was working like 10, 12 hours a day, pulling up carpet, pulling up all the stuff that needs to come up, putting in the hardwood, sanding everything down, putting in the hardwood, putting in the baseboards, and over that whole week I was exhausted. But I look back and I'm like, man, that looks good, and it was worth the effort.
It's a sense of accomplishment.
It's a very big sense of accomplishment. Yeah. Yes. So, and other than that, leisurely time, I enjoy golf, but I don't get enough time to do that. And at one point in time when I retire or whatever, there's a lot more time in life to be able to do those kind of things. So I'll enjoy that. And, volleyball, I love playing volleyball. When I go on vacation, if there's a beach around, and hopefully they're doing some volleyball, and get down and play a little volleyball.
Okay. All right.
That's and then going out, getting together with friends. That's always fun.
Right. Yeah. The whole social scene out there.
Social scene. I try and get involved in some of the things Modesto does. We have concert in the park downtown in the summertime. There's 6 weeks, and that's just getting a group of friends together and going out there, and other events. They have like different things that go on downtown. Trying to get involved with those as much as I can. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of fun to be had in this town, for sure.
There is.
What is your favorite trait that you like about yourself?
Not giving up on what I'm trying to go for. Seeing what needs to be done and not giving up is one of them. Trying as hard as I can seeing the goal, and then trying as hard as I can to get there, and not giving up to both in work and like I was saying with these projects. I know how hard it's going to be. Like starting the backyard patio, I know how hard it was going to be. I dreaded the whole thing, but that didn't stop me from knowing I needed to get it done. And a lot of the work stuff, there's the CF files which I built. I had thought about those for years and wasn't able to get the last piece I needed. But I knew what needed to happen, so I kept working towards getting what I needed to get done. Finally, I got the last piece in place, and then I knew it was going to be just a ton of work to get to the end also, but it didn't stop me from just, late hours. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking about everything that needed to be done, and I'm like, I can't just lay here. So I get up and go put on it was during the pandemic, so I had the computer that I could just go sit there, and I just type for hours, writing the code for it and everything, because if it's stuck in my head and I know I need to get it done, I got to get it out.
Wow.
So that kind of stuff, and just knowing my goal and continuing towards it until I get there. That's probably my favorite trait.
Excellent. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Breakfast.
What does breakfast normally look like?
The first thing I think of when I wake up is breakfast. That's the first thing I go. I don't know why that is. I talk to other people, and not everybody's the same, and I don't see how that's possible.
Right.
But for me, get up from bed, and the weekdays it's just cereal, but every day it's cereal. People always ask what kind of cereal, so I'll give away a little of my craziness here, but I got my perks, and this is one of them. But it's 3 different layers of cereal. So
are they all equal parts, or
they're all equal parts?
Okay.
And they got to layer them. You don't mix them together. You have to layer them, and then it's half milk, half water. But too much milk is just too much milk, so I do half water also.
Okay.
And then eat that. But that's every weekdays. And then weekends, it's eggs or pancakes or whatever I do. But the first thing I do when I wake up is head into the kitchen and start cooking.
What 3 cereals are you layering?
Well, that's a tough question because the 3 cereals that used to be Trader Joe's stopped making, so I have to start figuring out what the next ones are.
Okay. I thought you were going to say like Fruity Pebbles and
very healthy.
Very healthy.
It used to be if I get what I want, if Trader Joe's brings back what I want, it's called high fiber cereal.
Okay.
Which is just basically twigs. It's just little twigs of fiber. It looks like high fiber, but it tastes better than
like an oat bran or something.
No, it's just a long stick.
Okay.
They're just a bunch of sticks. And the middle is Kashi Crunch, which is the hard,
That's
super
a good
hard.
one.
It breaks your teeth.
Yes.
And then the top is flakes.
Okay.
So it's another Trader Joe's brand flakes, but they don't make either of them anymore. So
you may be onto something. You may start a trend here.
I keep every time I go into Trader Joe's, I say you need to get that back, but they don't bring it back. So I figure out some other stuff. But I don't know why it has to be 3 layers, but that's just what I do.
Are you a coffee drinker as well, or?
I never drank coffee growing up. Around age 35, I think it was when I changed jobs and I was getting tired because I had to think more than I had before. When you're dealing with money and dealing with students, they give you energy and everything.
Right.
And
yes.
When you're just dealing with numbers all the time, it's you need to find the energy somewhere else. So I wanted to drink coffee and I hated the taste of it. So I started buying those again Trader Joe's the coffee dark chocolate covered coffee beans. I'm
okay.
Like, okay, I'll have a few of those and just enjoy those and at least still get the caffeine. And then started making me like coffee and the flavor of coffee. I'm like, okay, now I like it, and now I drink at least a cup a day. I limit myself.
Straight black, or do you put stuff in there?
Weekdays, it's straight black.
Okay.
Yeah, when going to work, it's just a straight black coffee. Weekends, I add a little something fun to it just to make it more fun for the weekend.
And I'm sure it's relaxing too when you can just enjoy and not dump it just so that you need the energy.
And then I froth the milk and I make it all make it all fun and try and put the designs. I still haven't gotten the designs right yet, but try and do the design on top so it looks good. But ultimately, it's just to add a little more fun in the weekend.
Sure, why not? That's awesome. What is a meal that you could eat over and over again?
Well, anybody that knows me, and unfortunately I have the reputation, but my lunch meal is the same every day.
Every day?
Every day.
and you don't get tired of it?
People know this, and I don't get tired of it, and I don't know why I don't get tired of it, but it's what I do. A sandwich and carrots every day. So, and it's been that way for at least 15, probably 20 years.
What kind of sandwich are we talking about?
Usually just a ham sandwich. Ham, I put just mustard on it, lunch meat, usually ham or turkey or chicken, depending on what's on sale that week or what I feel like buying. And then tomato, what I put in, spinach, and zucchini.
What kind of bread?
Whole wheat bread, but if I can get rye bread, dill rye is delicious. Oh, and then I put horseradish sauce on it.
Okay.
Add a little tang to it. But usually it's wheat bread because rye bread kind of breaks up a little bit and makes it difficult to eat the sandwich. But rye bread tastes, especially dill rye, tastes good.
Well, so you really are mixing it up. It's not
There's
same sandwich.
Here.
Right. So
there's changes in the sandwich, but it's still a sandwich and carrots. Every day.
Okay. So your eyesight's definitely 20/20, right?
Yeah, and if we're not talking lunch, then Mexican food is always. If I'm going out to a restaurant and trying to decide where to go, I'll go for Mexican food pretty much every time.
Do you have a specific dish that's a go-to?
Me a burrito.
Burrito.
Just give me an easy burrito, something good, something easy, and I think that might be kind of a comfort level because when I was growing up. Grew up in a Mexican family, delicious Mexican food all around everywhere you went.
Wow.
All the holidays and all the weekends and all the football games and everything. So Mexican food's kind of my comfort level.
Okay. All right. This is a weird question, but are you superstitious or believe in any conspiracies that you're like, oh, yeah, that one's got to be true?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. The only conspiracy I might think is has the potential to be true is whether we landed on the moon or not. And the only reason I think that might be is because there is a reason for it potentially being a lie.
Right.
Because there was a race involved and we needed to prove something.
That
I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I could see where if somebody said, okay, here's proof that it is fake, it is a conspiracy.
Or if we did go, it really wasn't filmed on the moon.
No, I think if it was, I don't know. I could see there being some shenanigans going on there, but all the other, whether there's the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot
UFOs
somewhere,
and
UFOs, I'm like, if there's aliens out there, although I do believe for sure there's got to be aliens out there somewhere. There's no way we're the only living creatures in the entire universe.
Right.
Why would they come to Earth? I don't think there's any reason. I don't think they could, and even if they could, I don't know why they would want to. So
big waste of time.
Big waste of time. Not that I could be. I could be wrong. Who knows? But in my opinion, I don't see that happening. I think a lot of the conspiracies people are good stories, and they're kind of fun to talk about and kind of make people think a little bit, but not necessarily don't have any reality to them.
Right.
But
not going to travel all the way down the rabbit hole.
No.
Down some crazy.
And the funny thing is, every time anything happens, there's always right away a conspiracy about it. So somebody's going to come up with a story about something that happened just to make it a little more interesting.
Absolutely. Who has been the most influential person in your life?
This was a tough one. I don't know who. Growing up, I really didn't have anybody that was really influential. I'm going to bring it back to partially influential, not the most, but I've had a lot of people that I've worked with that have been wonderful people that have shaped me, friends that have shaped me, shaped where I am, where I'm going, and who I am, and personality. But I had one woman that when I came to the district office for the first time, Jane Chowinga. She was a internal auditor, and she was just a wonderful person, very smart in what she did. Left and right brain person, which is unique. She both had the financial side, and she was very creative and artistic. So a very interesting dynamic about who she was. Very few people in the world, I say, are just wonderful people all around, and she was one of them. And she was an auditor, so she had to go out and tell everybody what they were doing wrong. That was her job. Here's what I see. I'm looking at your stuff, and when I find stuff wrong, I got to let you know. But she's the only person I could know that would tell you everything you're doing wrong and make you feel good about yourself. And I'm like, okay, that's the kind of person you need to be in working with people and dealing with people is, yes, let them know what's going on. Let them know things could be better and need to be changed, but make sure they feel good about where they're going, what they're doing. Don't make them feel bad about what they're doing. And she did that, and she was a wonderful person.
Okay. Excellent. Where is someplace you would like to visit, and why?
I don't have any specific place. I'm a beach goer, so anywhere that has a beach, I'm there. Like I was saying earlier, volleyball on the beach is my favorite thing to do. So I go anywhere there's a beach, and if it doesn't have a beach, the reason I'm going is for family. My daughter moves around a lot right now. She's living in Nashville, so any vacations I get, I end up going over to Nashville and hanging out with her for a little while. So that's where I normally go. I'm big on cruises. I've gone on quite a few of them, so it's not necessarily the location of where you're going at that point. It's just the boat and the experience and being out on the water and hitting different spots. But there's no one specific place that I really want to just have to see. I mean, I'd like to see New York. I think it'd be kind of fun. I'd like to see Paris, but sometimes they say that seeing it in pictures and seeing the experience isn't the same as the experience. It's
kind of a letdown.
Yeah, and I hear that about a lot of places. So I don't really want to be let down. I just if I want to go somewhere, I want the experience of going there, not necessarily the place, but being able to do the things I want to do.
Right.
Going out. If there's a beach there's volleyball, and then there's a nightlife of some kind where I can go out and have good food, good drinks, and do some dancing. That's where I want to go.
of all of the cruises that you've been on, was there one that stands out to you? Something that was just really awesome about it, or crazy, or
There's only one that stands out for being less good.
Okay.
All the other ones were wonderful. I do Royal Caribbean, or I've always done Royal Caribbean, and the boats are amazing. And
so you're
experience
loyal
is-
to Royal.
Loyal to Royal.
Okay, yeah,
I
I heard that when I took my first one this last time.
Yeah, no, it's the experience is amazing. I mean, they do full on plays. They bring on performers that are like real actual performers. They're not just there on the cruise.
Right.
They're making money in it elsewhere. Who do we see? We saw Jerry Van Dyke one time, and he was just hilarious. But their entertainment's great. They saw what's the Chicago on there. They did a whole version of Chicago on one of the boats, and it was just amazing. The only one that stands out is the not Royal Caribbean. I went on a Carnival cruise when I was 20, 21, and it was $599, and it was worth $599.
Oh.
I got my money's worth, but that's as far as it went.
Now, I've heard that those are more they're party boats, basically. Is that true?
The one I went on, they might be different now. That was been years ago, but back then it was very low scale. The food was very cafeteria food, but it was still a cruise. It was still a week of fun for $600. I mean, the entertainment was. I felt like I was in high school. You know, it was high school people up there doing their dancing and stuff. For $600, it was worth it. But still, Royal Caribbean, top of the line. Any ship I've gone to, I know they're just putting out a new ship right now, and I'm like, I might have to look into that because that would be fun.
On the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
On Florida or something. I think that's where they've got it.
I think it's Icon of the Sea. And,
Yes.
And I just saw a video where they were going under a bridge, and they had to lower the boat, and they had to cut some things down to get it under the bridge where it needed to go. But the ship looks amazing, but all of them are. The funny thing is, I went on the first cruise I went on. I was 19, and it was Sovereign of the Sea, which was like back in the day they only had 3 ships, and that was it. And this was the biggest of that one. And now Sovereign of the Sea, they decommissioned it because it was so small and nobody wants to go on it. And I remember going on that ship going, this thing is insane. It's huge. And they're only getting bigger. But it's a fun time. Cruises are fun. I heard your experience on a cruise wasn't as fun.
It wasn't. But
I've had a lot of fun. But I've gone places that have been sunny and more, Mexico and more party places that are kind of fun.
I'll do it again. I'll give it another shot.
They're fun. You got to go different. You got to go different locations and go for the location. Go for the cruise and the location should go together, and you should. They're fun.
Okay.
But then, although I went on a cruise with a friend of mine, and then she had said, "Well, you've never been on an all-inclusive before," and she was used to all-inclusives. She goes, "I'll go on the cruise. You have to go on an all-inclusive next." And did a couple of those in Mexico and in Dominican and a couple places, and those are actually pretty fun too. Different experience, but it's nice to be in one location and get your food and drink and everything, and hang out by the pool all day and nightlife at night. And those are fun too. So,
all right.
I do enjoy traveling, although I haven't been able to do it near as much lately.
I'll get out there again.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's fun. You gotta pick the right experience though.
Now, I'm going to give people an option. This particular question has changed, and so I've decided I'm just going to give people the option as to how it is that they want to answer this question. You can either name 3 songs that are a must in your playlist, whatever playlist that is, or you can name 3 albums that if you could only listen to them for the rest of your life, these are the 3 albums you would choose.
Got the song. Well, one song and album go together, so we'll start there and pick which way
we'll do.
Go.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. And then why?
Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
The Fleetwood Mac album, the song "The Chain," because just the idea of the song and those. The emotions you can feel in that song when they're singing it, you know the story behind it, which makes it even better because they're going through this breakup and they're just talking about this chain that at one point in time the chain's going to keep us together, and yet they can feel the chain breaking. You said the chain was going to keep us together, and just these 2, not to mention the voice in the song, just amazing. But the emotions behind it, knowing what they were going through at the time when they were writing it and then performing it, and the idea of them band sticking together even though they're breaking up, just to make this music that's just you feel the emotions throughout the whole song, throughout the whole album, throughout the whole song, and it's just that's one of my favorite songs, definitely my favorite album. So a must-have on both sides, album and song.
Okay.
We'll go songs because that's what I originally was thinking about. But,
Okay.
Next favorite song would be, and a very not necessarily as known song, but Rocco DeLuca and the Burden. Have you ever heard of them?
I can't say that I have.
Rocco
No.
DeLuca and the Burden. They sing a song called "Colorful," and it's just a guy talking about how all the things that he likes about this girl and how she's just the most colorful thing he's ever seen. And it's like just a different way of saying how he feels about her, but the way it's written, and I like the slightly abstract version. Slightly abstract feeling of the song. You're just so colorful, and I think that's a great way to put it. And then it's got steel guitar sound to it. Which
Ooh, okay.
I love the steel guitar feel. Just the kind of a bluesy feel to it, but just I love that song. It's my favorite song of all time, period. So that one's got to be on anybody's playlist. And then the last song would be Outkast, I Like the Way You Move. Because you got to dance, you got to have some fun.
Yeah.
And he's just talking about liking the way this girl dances, or watching somebody dance, and who doesn't enjoy dancing or watching somebody dance. And
Right.
a good dancer is just fun anybody that can dance, it's fun to watch. And so the song is Can't Stop Moving. So those two things together, you got to have that on your playlist.
Okay. Excellent. I will check out that second song.
Yeah,
'cause
Rocco DeLuca and the Burden. It's got just a couple songs on the album that are decent, but that's the best.
Okay. If you would, do you have any parting words of encouragement for us?
I always want to say, do everything you can to stay positive, and try and make your life better and everybody else's life better. Because if you stay positive, even if things are going poorly, if you stay positive, they're going to get better. You're going to work towards you're going to make that happen. You're going to work towards that, and in doing so, you're also going to make everybody else's life better too. If you're working towards everything being positive, you make your life better and everybody else's life better around you. And I always try to. That's something I try to live by. If I can stay as positive I can, no matter what I'm going through, I can deal with it and hopefully help myself and then anybody else around me in dealing with their situations as well. So stay positive, keep driving towards the goal, and don't get sidetracked as you're getting where you need to go.
Excellent. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on the show, for giving us a window into your life. I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you doing this, and it's a wonderful thing to be doing and trying to get the community for MJC, because MJC has been obviously I've been there 30 years, so it's been good for me, and just in general, MJC is a wonderful place full of great people that work there with the students at the district office as well, and just I feel very fortunate to continue to work for MJC and the district.
Well, the winds are picking up and the barnacles are collecting on the bow. Time for us to set sail, me hearties. This episode was brought to you by Excel spreadsheets. They're not for everyone. Produced by myself. Edited by Patchy, my favorite parrot. And music by the Just Dance Party Band. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Peg Leg Podcast. Tune in next week when we will have someone on with a name I can't repeat. And as always, remember to keep your booty close and your sword sharp, lest you find yourself swabbing the deck on the bottom of Davy Jones's locker. Until we meet again.